Hello. I hope everyone is enjoying these videos. Saw my last one got 4 views, so moving up in the world. If not, I hope the main thing that people got out of the last one, if they ever watch it, Exodus 35, is, again, what I was talking about. Making sure the Sabbath day, you remind yourself, no extra work. And when you think of work that you need to do, you use that as a key, a reminder to go to the Lord in prayer. You know, if you're like, oh, I need to get this done, but it's not a need for that day, it's not a chore, you know, those two different words for work. If it's something extra or something, you know, that you're doing financially gains you, but isn't a necessary thing, that's something that reminds you, oh, go to the Lord in prayer. You know, this is His day. And think about it. God, every other God, I mean, our God says you're going to work hard for 6 days, but then you get a day off. But you still need to get done the work that you need to do. Okay, so we are going to do Exodus 36 today. Remember, we at the end had the big building project that they're going to do as a group with all the offerings coming. And the 2 general contractors, the 2 site managers were named. And that's where we're starting off at here at 36. So Bezalel, Oholiab, there's 2 different people. So Bezalel, Oholiab, and every skilled person to whom the Lord has given skill and ability to know how to carry out all the work of constructing the sanctuary are to do the work just as the Lord has commanded. Then Moses summoned Bezalel and Oholiab and every skilled person to whom the Lord had given ability. They do this in the Bible, it repeats itself. Redundancy or repetition is the mother of all learning, I guess. Ability who is willing to come and do the work. I do like that part though. The second one says the Lord, all that have been given the ability and who was willing. Okay, you're not being forced here. You know, that's the big thing, is a lot of churches will try and make you feel or guilt you into it. But I always ask people, I'm like, is the church making you feel guilty, or do you feel guilty because you should be doing it? Some churches, they are trying to guilt you into doing something extra, giving something more, charities or whatnot. But other times you just feel guilty because God is trying to get you to do that thing, and you should feel guilty for not being more willing to do work. Verse 3, they received from Moses all the offerings the Israelites had brought to carry out the work of constructing the sanctuary. And the people continued to bring freewill offerings morning after morning, so all the skilled workers who were doing all the work on the sanctuary left what they were doing and said to Moses, the people are bringing more than enough for doing the work the Lord commanded to be done. Remember, this was all free will offerings. Now, I'm sure there were people who did it because they didn't want to be shamed by their neighbors. But at the end of the day, it was very clear that it was to be done with the free will in your own heart, making the decision. So then Moses gave, and think about how listen, I'm at work. Somebody needs to go to the high school office. So, they're bringing way more than what is necessary. Free will giving their abilities to do the work. And they probably have a little extra motivation because, I mean, I'm not going to get into detail, you go back and look. But remember what Moses had done after the golden calf? Right? And now he's radiant, and now all these miracles, they're probably pretty righteously in fear of the Lord. So they're like, yeah, if he tells us to do it, let's get it done. So verse 6, then Moses gave an order, and they sent this word throughout the camp. No man or woman is to make anything else as an offering for the sanctuary. And so the people were restrained from bringing more, because what they already had was more than enough to do all the work. So again, and the Bible, I never noticed this before, but reading the commentaries and stuff, it's really stressing to show that Moses wasn't like a greedy dude. Like he wasn't doing this for himself. I mean, think about that. Now you have the material needed for the project at hand, but people are still bringing, people are still offering. So it's like, oh, well, why not have some extras? Well, why not have a little extra? Why not have, and then it just becomes a greed thing. Like, how much can we accumulate? How much can we take? But you're taking it from your neighbors. The community is the wealth. And God obviously knows this, so therefore Moses is aware of it. And they don't want to take extra. So think about like a charity or charitable organization. Think about building project at Ursa Rio or all this stuff. You know, once you hit your goal, you should a righteous man is going to be like, hey, you know, you guys cut back, at least cut back on the offerings. We don't need as much. You know, we're already there. You know, we don't need to collect any more money. We reached our goal. It's showing that Moses was not doing this out of greed. He wasn't doing this out of his own selfish desires. He was doing exactly what the Lord commanded. The people gave enough, and then they're like, I'm done. You know, I think of like, I don't want to name drop, but we all know quite a bit about, you know, televangelists and big arena style church services, and how much money a lot of these ministers or a lot of these people make on this stuff. And it gets to a point where, well, why are you still asking for offerings? You know, where's this money going? And obviously it would have gotten to that point if Moses would have kept collecting beyond what was necessary. They're like, well, what are you doing with all this stuff? And because what they're doing is building a sanctuary, and Moses is speaking for God, now people have resentment towards God. Think about how many churches have been ruined that way because the person in charge got a little too greedy, and it caused resentment towards what should have been just that man or woman in their direction they were running the church in. Instead, it became resentment towards the church and proxy towards God, all because people couldn't limit themselves on their own greed. So we're going to get into this is just the way the Jews wrote. All right, the Hebrews, it's detail oriented and it's kind of boring, but we're going to get through it here. Verse 8 through pretty much the rest. The tabernacle. All those who were skilled among the workers made the tabernacle with 10 curtains of finely twisted linen and blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, with cherubim woven into them by expert hands. Free Willy, remember that. All the curtains were the same size, 28 cubits. A cubit is like 17.5 inches, so you know. And then there's royal cubits and blah, blah, blah. I don't know if royal will be used here because it's the sanctuary. I don't know. They're pretty big. So 28 cubits long and 4 cubits wide. I think that would be like, if it's regular, I think it's around 40 by 5.5 feet. Then they made loops of blue material along the edge of the end curtains in one set, and the same is done with the end curtains in the other set. They also made 50 loops on one curtain and 50 loops on the end of the other set, with the loops opposite each other. Then they made 50 gold clasps and used them to fasten the two sets of curtains together so that the tabernacle was a unit. See, it's written like a manual, like how to put something together. So detailed. And again, to me, this shows that it's not fancifully written. It's just written of what is happening and what they're supposed to be doing, or what went down. They made curtains of goat hair. And again, self-reliance. They have no... This is all them. From raising the goats to shearing the goats to, you know, making the yarn, all this stuff. They have to get it done themselves. Every little aspect of it is the community. You need somebody with this skill or people with these skills to get this done. There's nowhere we can go. We have to do it on our own. All 11 curtains were the same size, 30 cubits long and 4 cubits wide. They joined 5 of the curtains into one set and the other 6 into another set. Then they made 50 loops along the edge of the curtain in one set, and also along the edge of the end curtain in the other set. They made 50 bronze clasps to fasten the tent together as a unit. Then they made for the tent a covering of ram skin dyed red, and over that covering of the other durable leather. Alright, so let's go to Enduring Word Bible, see if any of those numbers or anything have certain significance. Yeah, they don't have much of anything. Darn, that isn't very good commentary. So let's keep going. They made upright frames of acacia wood for the tabernacle. Each frame was 10 cubits long and a cubit and a half wide, with 2 projections set parallel to each other. They made all the frames of the tabernacle in this way. They made 20 frames for the south side of the tabernacle and made 40 silver bases to go under them. 2 bases for each frame, 1 under each projection. for the other side, the north side of the tabernacle, they made 20 frames and 40 silver bases, 2 under each frame. They made 6 frames for the far end, that is, the west of the tabernacle. The 2 frames were made for the corners of the tabernacle at the far end. At these 2 corners, the frames were double from the bottom of the way, all the way to the top, and fitted into a single ring. Both were made alike. So they were 8 frames and 16 silver bases, 2 under each frame. Again, all of them, how precise. They're doing all this. No machinery, no nothing. They're in the desert. Yes, they were the labor force, the skill force of Egypt there for a long time, so a lot of them have these skills. They don't have, I mean, you're wandering the desert and building with such precision. It's kind of amazing. But again, they get the instructions directly from God. I mean, that's the ultimate owner's manual right there. They also made crossbars of acacia wood, 5 for the frames on one side of the tabernacle, 5 for those on the other side, and 5 for the frames on the west at the far end of the tabernacle. They made the center crossbar so that it extended from end to end at the middle of the frames. They overlaid the frames with gold and made gold rings to hold the crossbars. They also overlaid the crossbars with gold. They made the curtain of blue, purple, and scarlet yarn and finely twisted linen, with cherubim woven into it by a skilled worker. They made 4 posts of acacia wood for it and overlaid them with gold. They made gold hooks for them and cast 4 silver bases. For the entrance to the tent, they made a curtain of blue, purple, and scarlet yarn and finely twisted linen, the work of an embroiderer, and they made 5 posts with hooks for them. They overlaid the tops of the posts and their bands with gold and made their 5 bases of bronze. Okay, so again, the detail. And I think that's a reminder of our lives of how important the details are. You know, the devil's in the details. What is mind-blowing is there are people who have done this. You know, people from Ezekiel and the way he describes the fire coming down to the way the manna came down, especially this stuff like the building the tabernacle, the temple, the ark, Noah's ark, all this stuff, we've been able to recreate it. I mean, duplications, you know, people have made tabernacles just like this with the exact instructions and it comes out perfectly. The ark, there's one down in, I want to say, Kentucky. It's amazing. My parents went there on vacation last year, and not only is it specifically by the instructions given in the Bible, so instructions from, you know, if you believe the timeline of the Bible, what, 8,000 years ago, 6,000 years ago, something like that, that Noah's flood would have happened, and the instructions for this still, to this point, even if you go back to the earliest Genesis, it's recorded book of Moses that we have, it's thousands and thousands of years old. It still precisely makes this exact ark that works. You can go to Kentucky and biblically they will show how it lines up with the instructions and works. You know, they show how the whole manure system and composting system would have happened on the ark. They show how, you know, the clean versus unclean animals and how you could use, you know, you would have taken young and you could have milk fed, and it is set up so everything works within it, and it would have been just fine. Same thing with this tabernacle. How old are these instructions? You know, how easily do you lose the instructions to put something together, or an owner's manual? And we still have these. And again, the Bible is an owner's manual to your soul, to your life. And the details are important. I think that's the main thing to get out of this, is how important these details are. And that we all have skills, we all have abilities. If we use them to the betterment of the community, free will giving of our skills to come together with the community to do something, especially in the name of God or in honor of God, wow, that's going to be a community building thing if I've ever heard of one, obviously. And that's really what's happening here as these people are wandering through the desert. And again, we go back to the beginning. Moses is ending the offering because they've reached the point of where they have everything they need, and we don't want to go into excess because then people would have resentment towards Moses and eventually towards God, because he is the voice of God to these people. You know, he's the one speaking with God's authority to them. Now, I thought I had something else I wanted to say here, but I don't think so. I mean, it's pretty general. I wish the Bible commentaries had a bit more, maybe, significance of some of this stuff. But just remember that the devil's in the details. God gives us the details of how to live our life in the Bible. He gives us the exact details of how to build an ancient structure, and we still have them today. And he knows how to bring people together in his name. All along the way, he's making the perfect steps. You know, bring your offerings, end your offerings when you get to the limit. Don't ask for excess. You know, right now I'm reading my daughter Aesop's Fables a lot. And I can't remember what it's called. Let me look it up right here. About much greed and much needs more, or more needs much. I can't remember it. Oh well. Anyway, I hope everybody enjoyed this. Good afternoon, good evening, or good night.